name's Dustin McFarland. Thanks for tuning in. I love talking about this stuff. This just makes me happy. And it makes me happy because everyone is impacted by this. If you do good planning, if you ask right questions, if you get good advice, you can control your destiny. You can make things happen for yourselves. Understand the consequences, understand what's going on. Today, I want to talk about taxes, and specifically taxes when you die. A lot of people don't understand that just because you're dead, that doesn't mean the government stops collecting. In fact, it probably sticks its hand out more and digs into your pockets even deeper when you pass away. So let's go over some of the basics of about taxes when you're dead. It's a lot, and you need to understand how it works. So let's make a list. First of all, there's property taxes, there's income taxes, there's capital gain taxes, there are estate taxes, and then there's even taxes to your beneficiaries. I'm looking on my list here. So your kids might have to pay, and then you're going to get hit up a couple different ways. So let's start out with the easy one, property tax. So a lot of people get confused on, well, first they get confused on the rules, right? They'll say like, oh, you can only gift so much money, and when I die, there's the house can be worth $250,000 or $500,000, and I don't get taxed on it. Like all of these rules kind of get jumbled together. So let's kind of tear them apart and separate them so you know what rules apply to what tax. Property tax in California, it's based on the value of your property. When you die, your property, in almost all cases except for your primary residence, and even that's limited, but we're just going to be really generic right now. When you die, your property that you own, your real estate, is going to be reassessed to the current fair market value at the time of your death. And your property tax is going to be based on the new value of your property when you die. So, for example, you buy a property in 1980 for $100,000. You live in it for 80, 90, 40, 50 years, and then you die. And at the time of your death, the property is worth $1 million. That's how California works. Property just goes up in value. Even when it goes down, it goes up. So you bought it at $100,000. When you die, it's worth $1 million. When you bought it at $100,000, the property tax was it's 1.2% of the value. So for easy math, let's call it 1%. That means the property tax was $1,000 the first year. And then the property tax goes up 2% a year. But because this is California, property tax values rise at 2% a year, but home values rise much faster than that. And that's why we have this huge disparity between home values and property tax bills. So you're going along and you live in this house for 40 years or 50 years, and you're only paying, $2,500 a year, $3,500 a year after living in the house for so long, because $100,000 a year raised 2% a year doesn't really add up to that much. When you die, they're going to look at what the property is worth at the time of your death, and the property tax will be recalculated 1.2% of the new value. For our example, $1 million. So your property tax for the kids will jump from that low value based on the $100,000 to the new value based on $1 million. That means the property tax jumps to $10,000 per year. It's kind of nuts, right? $10,000 per year for the same exact piece of real estate. The exception to the rule is if your primary residence, and when you die, one of your kids lives in the primary residence and makes it his or her primary residence, they get to keep your same property tax value. Other than that, the property tax is going through the roof. It's just going to go up. So understand how property tax works. It doesn't matter if you give or if you put your kids' names on it or whatever, the property tax is going to go up when you die. Okay, you don't want to transfer the property. You want to make sure. In fact, the opposite would happen. If you put your kids on the property, and especially if they don't live in the property, then the property tax could be reassessed at that transfer, because they look at it as a change in ownership, And so instead of waiting till you die, the property tax could actually be reassessed while you're alive. You don't want to make that mistake. We've seen that happen a number of times. It's nearly impossible to unring that bell. So number one tax you have to deal with, property tax. It's just going up when you die. There's almost nothing you can do about it with the exception of your primary residence. That's the tax number one. Tax number two.